Good afternoon. My name is Pat Hynes. I am a retired professor of environmental health, and I've also worked for the EPA and their hazardous waste program and for Massport, which is responsible for the Logan Airport. In all of my years of working with the study and cleanup of hazardous pollutants, I never heard of or came across PFAS. It's only in the past 5 years that I have become aware of how ubiquitous it is and of its risks and hazards. So PFAS has to be the best kept toxic secret in our history. And I would say that is due to an industry and government cover-up. Thank you. In 2020, January, the Environmental Working Group released a groundbreaking set of tests that found chemicals known generically as PFAS in the drinking water of dozens of US cities, some of them large municipalities. Based on these tests and new research that found PFAS widespread in rainwater, PFAS is likely detectable in all major water supplies in the US, especially those that use surface water. Sewers carry most human, commercial, and industrial liquid waste to wastewater treatment plants. Thus, PFAS chemicals would be present in wastewater treatment plants, the sludge they produce, which then may be put on farmland and grazing fields, and the effluent they discharge into rivers, bays, lakes, and groundwater. Landfills also leach liquid waste from PFAS-laden products, such as carpets, clothing, Teflon cookware, etc., into groundwater and nearby rivers. PFAS could also be discharging from over 2,500 industrial sites across the country. Airports and military bases have been a continuous source of PFAS used in firefighting foams and contamination of ground and surface water. Thus, PFAS chemicals circle through the web of life into water, soil, plants, fish, wildlife, and humans continuously. And because they do not degrade, they bioconcentrate in each part of the web. We excrete some through urine and feces, but slowly, and thus it builds up in our bodies. What are these chemicals that are collectively called PFAS? They are a class of thousands of related compounds formulated with extremely strong carbon-fluorine bonds that resist degrading. Thus, they are called forever chemicals. The most commonly used and studied are PFOA and PFAS. Their chemical properties resisting grease, oil, and water in consumer products, as well as industrial uses, and their use in aqueous firefighting foam have made them widely used and ubiquitous in the environment since the 1950s. What is the role of the military in PFAS use and pollution? The US military has been a major user of PFAS for fire suppressing foam, especially for petroleum-based fires here and throughout the world on its more than 800 military bases. As of March 2020, it's estimated that the drinking water of more than 700 US military bases and surrounding communities could be contaminated with PFAS firefighting foam. Many, if not most, of the contaminated drinking water sources are on or near DoD installations. Since the 1970s, the Department of Defense knew that PFAS is toxic in fish through Air Force and Navy studies. Ignoring the research results, they have resisted taking their firefighting foam out of circulation. Under pressure, DoD will phase out current firefighting foams by 2024 and is replacing them with short-chain PFAS. But evidence suggests that the next generation of short-chain PFAS chemicals may be just as toxic. List of health effects. What of the toxicology of PFAS? PFAS is found in the blood of nearly 99% of Americans, plus in fish, seals, and polar bears. No place on Earth is untouched by it. PFOA and PFAS, the most common and most studied chemicals of the PFAS group, are linked to liver damage, reproductive and developmental toxicity, immune system harm, increased risk of thyroid disease, increased risk of many cancers. The potential synergistic effects of multiple PFAS chemical exposures are not yet known. Can PFAS in water and waste be destroyed? They can be removed from water by granular activated carbon, GAC filtration, and also reverse osmosis. But the industrial incineration of PFAS contaminated filters and other waste is not hot enough to destroy them and thus contaminates air and ends up in rainwater. The Battelle company has developed a process using supercritical water, that is water under extremely high pressure and temperature, that destroys the carbon-fluorine chemical bonds. Battelle annihilator technology, as it is called, has achieved destruction to less than 5 parts per trillion with minimal residence time and no harmful byproducts. This technology is currently being scaled up for field testing in early 2021. And the last photo has to do with what is needed at the federal and state levels in terms of regulation. EPA must designate PFAS as a hazardous substance for the Safe Drinking Water Act to set a maximum contaminant level, and the Superfund program to set levels for cleanup, and setting conservative standards for cleaning up drinking water waste in all water sources. Now, once we have a Superfund program and the worst sites are put on the Superfund list, states have a legal right to make contaminated federal facilities, such as military bases, not listed on the Superfund list, but contaminated, to form a cooperative agreement with those federal facilities to clean up at state levels. And finally, Congress. The 2021 National Defense Authorization Act, which was passed, phases out PFAS use in firefighting foam by the Department of Defense and directs the department to award cash prizes for development of an alternative to aqueous film-forming foam without PFAS. Thank you very much.